In headlines, His Majesty the King returns to Thimphu after spending almost a month in the south. Another round of mass screening underway in Phinsoling and Samrup-Jonker. And the Supreme Court orders the owner of JPLP Enterprise to restitute 154 million etam and 5 years in prison for evading tax. Kuzangpo, a warm welcome to BBS News. I'm Samtin Dolkar. After spending almost a month in the south, His Majesty the King returned to Thimphu today and entered 7-day facility quarantine.
Before embarking for Thimphu this morning, His Majesty met the Southern COVID-19 Task Force and said, while it was necessary to be in Thimphu for the opening of the next session of Parliament and other obligations, His Majesty would return to the south soon. His Majesty expressed concerns that if the lockdowns prolong or are too numerous, it would disrupt everyday life and have a huge impact on the well-being of the people. The goal, His Majesty said, must be to restore safety and normalcy at the soonest. Beyond the ongoing lockdowns, His Majesty shared the need to be well prepared for the foreseeable future. His Majesty asked the team to convey deepest appreciation to frontline workers and health workers and to the people in lockdown for playing their respective parts to fight the pandemic with the greatest loyalty and dedication, enduring numerous difficulties and discomforts as they did so. During the tour, His Majesty visited Gelifu, Samtsi and Samrup-Jonker besides Phinsoling. His Majesty reviewed measures and protocols in place and visited facilities and high-risk points to personally inspect the conditions on the ground. His Majesty also visited border outposts in the south. His Majesty met with the personnel working along the outposts and inquired about their work as well as their well-being. His Royal Highness Prince Chigelugen Wangchuk accompanied His Majesty on the tour. Sonam Wongdi for BBS News.
Almost half of the women in the world are denied their bodily autonomy as per the World Population Report 2021. Bodily autonomy is the power to make choices about one's body without the fear of violence or having someone else decide. Her Majesty the Queen Mother Sangye Wangchuk, the Goodwill Ambassador of the United Nations Population Fund, launched the report in the country recently.
Going by the report, denial of bodily autonomy includes rape, forced sterilization, virginity testing, and female genital mutilation, among others.
It shows that in countries where we have data, nearly 50% of women lack the power to make their own decisions over healthcare, contraception, and sexuality. In essence, hundreds of millions of women and girls do not own their bodies. Their lives are governed by others.
He said the COVID-19 pandemic further worsened the situation, resulting in increased sexual violence, more unintended pregnancies, and new barriers to health care. According to Renew, in Bhutan, some common cases of denial to bodily autonomy are unwanted and teenage pregnancy, physical and emotional abuse, and rape.
Initially, there is so much love. Later, we fight and even get physical. If the woman dresses well and goes out, the husband would question a lot. He would accuse us of so many things. Although my husband didn't treat me well, I could not leave him for my child's sake. I think we women are emotionally weak and have to worry about what our husband or his family would say about us.
My husband is unemployed. I have to work and look after my child. Since I work as a sweeper, my friends and family discriminate. My husband is always drunk and physically abuses me. He doesn't spare our child. Last time, I couldn't take it anymore and asked him to leave. He nearly killed me.
We have lots of issues and the problem that we are facing currently, but not as much as problem and the issues facing by the other country. Moreover, like we are yet to know more about the issues, and there are lots of cases where the cases are not reported. Actually, there are many reasons behind that. So, like it could be like because of stigmatization from the society, family pressures, then financially dependent to another partner.
Officials said not being able to report to relevant agencies also comes under denial to bodily autonomy. As per the report, lack of bodily autonomy has a huge impact on the individual as well as the country and its economy.
A woman who has control over her body is more likely to have power in other spheres of life. She gains not only in terms of autonomy, but also through advances in health and education, income and safety. She will thrive. So too with her family. Communities and societies as a whole will flourish when all people have the power to make their own informed decisions.
The report stated achieving bodily autonomy depends on gender equality and expanding choices and opportunities for women, girls, and excluded groups. As of now, globally, around 80% of the countries have laws supporting sexual health and well-being. Giletim for BBS News.
Upon royal command of His Majesty the King, the central monastic body conducted a day-long prayer ceremony and offered 1,000 butter lamps at the Tashi Chazong in Thimphu today. The 5 Libis presided over the ceremony. It was conducted for those who lost their lives to the coronavirus globally and in particular in India. Another mass screening for the residents of Phinsoling is underway beginning today. Every individual in the zones that detected more positive cases from community is tested on the RT-PCR. For other zones, a member from every household is tested. Since the latest lockdown started a month ago, Phinsoling saw a total of 37 COVID-19 positive cases from community and the flu clinic. Dicky Lane, Mini Dry Pot, PSA area, Forest Colony and Integrated Vegetable Market are some areas from where the cases were detected. The outcome of the mass screening will decide further relaxation of the lockdown restrictions in Phinsoling. At the moment, the town is under a partial lockdown with only designated retail outlets allowed to open. People are allowed to walk within their zones. Similarly, in Samdrup town, towards lifting the lockdown restrictions completely, another round of mass testing began from today. On the first day, around 800 samples were collected. Health officials will test more than 2,000 residents on the RT-PCR test during the screening.
A 4-day mass testing is underway in the town as per royal concerns expressed during the recent visit to Samdrup. His Majesty commanded for another round of strategized mass screening to ensure full confidence to lift the lockdown safely. The screening will help detect residual cases, if any.
In a household, if a family member is actively going out, and second parameter we considered is non-vaccinated individuals, and the third parameter we considered is individuals having the comorbidities condition. If household of 5 members falls under those 3 parameters, then we test all 5 of them. So in the past, in a household of 5, the sample collection were 1 or either 2. so it doesn't have qualifying criteria.
A mass screening was conducted in the town earlier this month after a 36-year-old woman tested positive from the community on 3rd May. More than 2,000 residents were tested on the RT-PCR test, during which one more individual tested positive. As of now, all positive cases are clustered within the residents of RBP colony, which is declared a yellow zone. Meanwhile, a zoning system has been implemented in rest of the town, with schools and offices still closed. However, institutions providing public services such as banks, FCB and a few others are operating on self-containment mode. Samrup Jongkhar town has not seen a positive case from community since 7th May. For Kila Ongchuk in Samrup Jongkhar, Choni Dama for BBS News.
The facility quarantine from where COVID-19 positive cases were detected between 22nd and 26th April could be the possible source of the recent community outbreak in Samrup Jongkhar. According to a report by the Samrup Jongkhar COVID-19 task force, both the positive cases detected from community visited the premises of the facility quarantine. 7 positive cases were detected from the hotel, including its manager, during the period.
As per the report, the first positive case from community, a 36-year-old woman, visited a retail shop located below the facility quarantine on several occasions. She tested positive on 3rd May from the police colony. Similarly, the police personnel who tested positive on 6th May during the mass screening was assigned night duty outside the same quarantine hotel on 22nd and 26th April. The report stated that as per the circumstantial evidence, RT-PCR test report, date of the onset of symptoms and probable date of exposure, the leakage from the quarantine facility was possible. At the same time, other possible sources and mode of transmission, such as illegal transactions and frequent travel to points of entry by RBP personnel, among others, are not ruled out. The other possible source of transmission, the husband of the first community case who had travelled to Phuentsholing, is also being studied. As per the report, positive cases were detected from the place he visited in Phuentsholing. He tested positive on 9th May. For Kile Wanchu in Samrup Jongkhar, Kyalzang Choden for BBS News.
A fire this morning completely damaged one of the units of the girls' hostel of Monga High Secondary School. Except for a girl student who was sick, the others had left for morning study when the incident occurred. She escaped unhurt. The police, DESUPs and other volunteers were able to contain the fire from spreading to other units. An electric short circuit is suspected to have caused the mishap. The school management, the office of the Gates Up in Gelpushing, and the district administration made necessary arrangements for the affected students, including their clothes, stationery and bedding. Now, the Supreme Court sentenced Jatan Prasad Lalchand Prasad, the owner of JPLP Enterprise in Phuentsholing, to 5 years non-compoundable prison term for evading tax. The Indian national was also ordered to restitute 154 million etam within 1 month from the date of the judgment, which was passed on Friday.
The Supreme Court altered the decision of the larger bench of the High Court. In 2019, the larger bench had ordered Jatan Prasad Lalchand Prasad to restitute over 14 million etam. The Anti-Corruption Commission appealed to the Supreme Court after the larger bench overturned the ruling of the High Court's Bench 3. The lower court had ordered the convict to restitute over 126 million etam along with a non-compoundable prison term of 5 years. Until the larger bench, the Office of the Attorney General prosecuted the case. The case of tax evasion surfaced in 2015 following the Anti-Corruption Commission's investigation. The ACC uncovered that Jatan Prasad Lalchand Prasad had evaded a tax amount of over 184 million etam in between 2011 and 2014. Sringzam, BBS News.
Prices of goods and services in the country continue to rise. As per the Asian Development Outlook 2021, compared to last year, inflation is expected to double to 6.4% in this financial year. Economists attribute this trend to surging demand and disruption in supply chain due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The increasing prices of goods and services are evident from the National Statistics Bureau's latest Consumer Price Index or CPI report released last month. The report highlighted that this February, the CPI increased to 9.54%, the highest since February 2020. Food prices during the month rose by almost 17% compared to the same period last year.
We buy things every day, so we know the rates. For example, the price of a gas cylinder increased by 200 Newton compared to last year. The prices of rice and oil have been increasing as well over the last few months.
A sack of rice used to cost 750 ngitam. Now it costs 1050 ngitam. Even the price for a kilogram of potatoes was just 15 ngitam a year ago. Today it increased to 15 ngitam for a kilogram. You can't do anything about the increasing prices. We have to buy anyway.
The recently published ADB Outlook 2021 stated that inflation rose mainly because of disrupted supply from India coupled with panic buying. Moreover, retailers claim the transportation charges and expenses on loaders and escorts have increased, leading to increased price for goods in the market. According to the finance minister, the domestic inflation is the result of inflation in India. There is not much the ministry can do to control it.
BTN, Nultram is backed with Indian rupees.
Our Newton is backed with Indian rupee. So when India's economy falls, it has an impact on our economy. The current inflation is not caused due to increase in money flow in individuals' hand. It is because of inflation and increase in production cost in India. Moreover, not enough is produced to meet the demand.
Going by the ADB Outlook 2021, inflation is forecast to ease 5% in the next financial year as prices are expected to lower in India and domestic conditions improve. Meanwhile, the purchasing power of Nultram dropped by 8.71% in the past 12 months due to the increase in price in the economy. Today, as measured by the CPI, the purchasing power of Nultram stands at 65 Newton. Sangi Shizong for BBS News.
A recap of our main stories. His Majesty the King returns to Thimphu after spending almost a month in the south. Another round of mass screening underway in Phinsoling and Samdukjongkhar. And the Supreme Court orders the owner of JPLP Enterprise to restitute 154 million etem and 5 years in prison for evading tax. That's all we have from the newsroom for now. Thanks for watching. Visit www.bbs.bt to read our stories. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Goodbye and stay safe.